Welcome to Las Vegas, Nevada, and day 3 of our coverage of the NAB Show, the National Association of Broadcasters show. Leo Laporte here on the show floor, and, well, it's getting a little quieter, as it always does at these big trade shows. About 90,000 people, they say, were here looking at gear really intended for professional broadcasters. We're here both at the invitation of the National Association of Broadcasters, who asked us to be their official streaming partner, but also because we thought there'd be some very cool stuff. And, in fact, in just a bit, we're going to talk with LG. Scott Wilkinson is here, but I wanted to get Alex Lindsay on briefly, and then we'll come back and talk more about it, because there was a huge news story last night, and we thought there would be from the Final Cut Super Meet, and Apple had asked that they preempted all the other speakers and said, can we have this Super Meet to make a big announcement? We thought it might be Final Cut. Is it?
It was Final Cut.
And just now, we're going to give you 2 minutes to say this.
So Final Cut.
And then we'll come back and we'll do a whole thing on it. So what did they say?
Completely rewritten from the ground up.
It is completely
64-bit, so it's going to use all the RAM, all the CPU power that whatever computer you have. It's going to scale up and down with your applications. Really, what they worked on was workflow. How do we make it easier and faster to do your edits? How do we allow you to be more creative? How do we allow you to put all those pieces together faster and easier? And so it's a complete. I mean, it looks completely different. If it looks, a lot of the things that we've seen.
Does it look like iMovie?
A lot of the things that we've seen in iMovie, the paradigms that we're using, that have been very different, are definitely, you see them there, but then it's like on steroids. I mean, so it's like then we have all this other control and all these other pieces that you can do that you couldn't necessarily do in iMovie. So what's interesting is now it's totally unified. So if you learned iMovie and you went to Final Cut,
you're going to be unhappy.
No, you're going to be
happy that
now.
direction.
It's not. Now you're not going, oh, I have to learn something completely different. It's now I'll add a whole lot of tools to my work, to my work that give me a lot more power. It is. A lot of stuff's being done automatically as you bring stuff in. So it's looking at your footage and deciding, do you need it to be stabilized? Can we clean up the audio for you? And now you can always turn that off, but you can allow it to do a lot of that work as you're coming in. You can start working on your footage before it's even imported. So if you just you plug your drive in and you start importing, but you can start working on that footage, start working through it. So it looks to be a very, very powerful. It's a complete rewrite. So as new editors are going to have this. This is going to be a real gift. Editors who have muscle memory of how to edit, this is going to be a big learning curve for them.
Well, somebody like Alex, who is a Adobe Premiere guy, and we've kind of been banging on him to use Final Cut because that's what we use. He might actually appreciate the shift. He might say, oh, this is easier. Because I tell you, I look at Final Cut, even Final Cut Express, and it was a little overwhelming for me.
This is a lot more straightforward. It's a lot cleaner interface than what we've seen with any of the other apps.
And this is called Final Cut X.
Final Cut X. Final Cut Pro
Is it
X.
10? Or X?
I don't know whether it's X or 10. I never know.
Apple's so confusing. All right, we'll say X. Here's the big story.
$299.
$299.
And in the
down
App Store,
from $12.99.
Right. Well, now that was the whole bundle. So they've unbundled it.
Oh, okay.
So we talked about that. They've unbundled it. Final Cut itself is going to be $299. They didn't talk about any of the other applications.
This is what you predicted, and they're selling it in the App Store.
In the App Store. Which means that if it's like everything else in the App Store, if you have 3 computers at home,
runs on them all.
You're going to just install it on all of them, and it's whatever's got your login.
No more of that copy protection nonsense.
It's just done. It's very, very exciting.
It's a big move for Apple, saying, if you ask me, saying we believe we can make one product that will suit both the Pro and the advanced consumer. Yeah. And it gives there's no more Final Cut Express, right? It gives the advanced consumer a place to go after they say, well, iMovie's close, but I need a little more. And an easy transition.
Yeah. Absolutely.
What it's going to do is breed a whole generation of editors, I think. You know?
It's going to be difficult if you're in that middle of the road editor that's just kind of slogging stuff together. You're going to have to bring your game up a bit.
Right.
If you are getting into the industry, you're fine. If you're a really advanced editor, this probably doesn't affect you. You're probably going to use whatever you're using.
Sounds like it's almost a little bit like. I don't
it's going to be disruptive. I mean, it's going to be disruptive because there are many
transition.
Things. There are many things that you had to be a real expert to do that now you can get done very quickly and very easily. So there, in some ways, I heard some grumbling last night that from editors going, they're making it too easy. Yeah. It's like it's all these things are going to put us out of work.
Well, Larry Jordan's going to come back. He's of course the Final Cut guru. He'll be here. You'll come back in about half an hour,
Yep.
and we will spend more time. We'll explain what all of this is, what it looks like, what it means. Do you have screenshots or anything we can look at?
We have some people took some photos. We don't have any screenshots that we can show, but we can.
Somebody said, "Is Walter Murch going to be happy?"
I don't know.
Not.
Those are the kind of editors that we have to get their feedback, and I haven't. He wasn't there last night, so we don't know.
Right. I think that's really, really interesting. $2.99 for the new Final Cut X.
Coming out in June.
X coming out in June.
We're going to assume that it's after Lion. I think
probably
that's
will require Lion. I would guess it would require Lion. All right. Thank you, Alex Lindsay.
Thank you.
We're going to let Alex go and introduce our panel here for the beginning day, day 3 at NAB. And Scott Wilkinson's back. It's great to see you, Home Theater Geeks host. We did a Home Theater Geeks on Monday, which should be out now.
Yes, the audio is up now. There's been apparently a little bit of problem with the video.
Oh, poor Tony. Yeah, he ran out of disk space.
He ran out of disk space, so we're still waiting for that. But he's working diligently on it, so I'm sure we're going to see it pretty soon.
And also, of course, editor-in-chief of the Ultimate AV Magazine, ultimateavmag.com. He's a columnist at Home Theater Magazine, and he's a pig in mud here. He's enjoying himself, as am I.
Yes, tremendously.
Yeah,
tremendously.
I mean, this is where you see the big iron, the big toys, the stuff that hundreds of thousands of dollars.
Yes, although as you pointed out last night at the Broadcast Minds Roundtable, the prices are coming down so fast, and technology is getting faster, smaller, cheaper, democratizing this whole industry so that anybody can really get into it with a modicum. You have to have some budget still, but
it just thrills me. It means that more and more people can do what I'm doing. More and more people can just get a little camera and go out there and make something.
And an important point you made last night, I think, was that it soon will, if it's not already possible, for the audience to be more participatory in TWiT shows, for example.
Right.
And which is something that I admire about you tremendously.
Well, that's what we're really trying to figure out.
Yeah, exactly.
In fact, I said that at the Broadcast Minds event. That because they asked at the end, well, what do you want? What do you see in 5 years? And I said, I want a TriCaster for interactivity. And it's interesting because Andrew Cross was there. He's the guy who's writing the TriCaster software, designing the hardware. He's the guru, the genius behind the 850, which we're using, and TriCasters we've used before. And Andrew pulled me aside. We went to dinner afterwards and said, all right, what did you mean? And I said, well, look, we have part of what we do is to try to break down the fourth wall. We don't want to be on a TV set with lights in front of us, cameras in front of us, and this glass barrier between us and the audience. We want the audience to feel like they're sitting right here next to us and interacting with us in a natural way so they feel like they're part of it. It's one of the reasons we do this chat room. By the way, if you aren't in the chat, irc.twit.tv, I'm watching it right now. We all watch it as we go. We respond to the chat room. But that is primitive compared to what I see. He came up with a great solution. I won't tell you, but he says, I'm going to write into the next edition of TriCaster a way to integrate the audience in much more tightly.
Wow.
I said I want a TriCaster for audience interaction. And he said, okay, we can do that in the existing. So there's some very interesting stuff coming. He's really great.
Yeah.
So you brought John Taylor, speaking of great guys, somebody that we did meet at LG at CES.
Yep.
And LG's back here. Do you do a lot of pro gear, John?
We don't really. We're more on the consumer side.
Yeah, we know you as a consumer company. Yeah.
So, but you're here not in your capacity at LG, but in your capacity as a member of the Open Mobile Video Alliance.
I'm wearing lots of hats here, but the Open Mobile Video Coalition has a tremendous display of mobile digital television devices, and I brought some toys, and I'm at your mercy.
I'm so glad because
you talk about mobile DTV and where it's headed.
Scott knows that on the radio show on Sunday, we got a call from the chief engineer at KQED in San Francisco, who said, "I give you an assignment, Leah. When you go to NAB, find out what's the status of mobile TV." And we. Thank you, Scott.
And here he is.
Here's your assignment fulfilled. First, I think, John, we have to explain what this is, because I know that I can right now. There's VCast on the Verizon network. I can watch streaming video. We can watch us on mobile devices.
Sure.
So how is this different?
This is different in that there are indeed lots of ways to get mobile video today. But what's different about mobile digital television, it is broadcast television. This is a standard my company and others developed. It was adopted by the ATSC about 18 months ago, and it delivers a more robust digital signal that piggybacks along with the ATSC signal that's delivering HDTV to your home. There's actually a lot of wind in the sails, I'm happy to report.
Yeah, because we've seen, I remember Flow TV, which was a Qualcomm project, which is now defunct.
Right.
Same idea. They bought a UHF channel in every market, and same channel in every market. It was kind of a weird idea, and it was digital, wasn't it? And you bought a little Flow TV device or an adapter for your phone, and you were able to watch it. This is not the same thing.
What's different about this is, and there are a lot of people that are analyzing what happened to Flow, and I don't even want to go there, but what's happening today is that this is live local television. And it's using the broadcast infrastructure that's already in place.
See, I like that, because live local means you're watching breaking news, you're watching sporting events, weather, all the things that you can't get on a VOD system or like a Roku. That's the stuff that we want.
Now, what's the difference between this and? For a long time, we've had portable TVs, right? That have the little whip antenna,
right?
And you now have a few that are DTVs.
Well, in the analog world, and I had my old Sony Watchman. I live in Chicago. I used to take it to Wrigley Field and watch WGN while the game was going on.
Right.
In the digital world, because the ATSC digital TV standard was designed to maximize the bits that deliver HDTV to the home, there are trade-offs between throughput of bits and robustness. So if you had a portable digital television set receiving a regular ATSC signal, if you moved it like this, you would lose the signal. So that's sort of the secret sauce behind mobile DTV.
Yeah, people get nervous when you say it's OTA, it's over the air. Oh no, I mean, multipath,
old technology,
canyons of steel in New York City. You're not going to be able to. But this is not. This is designed for this.
It's designed exactly for that. Talk about multipath, zero ghosts. If you get into we've done a lot of testing in the concrete canyons of New York and Chicago. The picture is rock solid. And it's because it is so much more robust.
There's a lot of redundancy built into the stream.
There's a lot of redundancy, and it's only 500 kilobits actually. So in terms in terms of the actual picture.
Wow.
So it's not taking a lot of bandwidth. It takes a total of a couple of megabits because of the guard bands and the like. But
what kind of resolution are you getting?
Well, it varies from display to display.
Right. But I mean, in terms of the signal, are you actually transmitting 1080p or 1080i?
I don't think you have a device that high a resolution.
No.
You don't care, though. I mean,
really
SD is fine
on this size screen. You really don't.
No, true enough.
Yeah. So you're holding up these are little TV only devices that are designed to receive this mobile TV.
No, this is actually an Android phone.
Oh, all right. You can see the shot there, so you know what they're getting.
So this is a prototype based on the LG latest Android phone.
Move it a little bit.
You guys make great Android phones, John, by the way. I can't wait. I'm waiting for the LG on T-Mobile that's about to come out.
You'll notice the picture is frozen. I was getting a great signal outside.
We are really in a concrete canyon.
We're in a concrete and steel canyon here.
In Vegas,
not even a canyon, but a box.
Yeah, there are broadcasters in Vegas. There are already stations doing this.
There are stations doing. In fact, there's about 75 stations on the air throughout the country already.
Wow.
By the end of this year, there should be 200 stations on the air. So,
and there are 4 in Vegas?
4 in Vegas for the show. I don't know how many are going to stay on permanently. We're in this classic chicken and egg situation.
Nobody has
now.
Receivers, so who's going to put it on?
Receivers are not quite all on the market, and the broadcasters are not quite all out there yet, but we think this is the year when the ecosystem is going to come together.
What would have to be added to my existing, I guess it couldn't put it on an existing phone without a kind of a case around it like the Flow TV was doing.
Or an antenna.
Well, so you'd have to, let's say LG, presumably LG designs a new Android phone. Do you have to put a chip in there and an antenna on it?
It's just a tiny little chip. You do have to have an antenna because it is over-the-air television.
Right.
But there are lots of different options. We build chips, so many of these options include our technology. There's a cool device called a TWiT, which will work with an iPhone and an iPad. It actually is a standalone receiver that uses Wi-Fi to deliver. It receives the mobile ETV and displays.
That's funny. That's what Flow TV was doing. They had, but it was on the phone. So because you couldn't modify the phone, especially an iPhone. So they used a Wi-Fi, little mini Wi-Fi kind of near field transmitter that would fit onto the phone, but nobody bought them. Probably cost, probably lack of programming, and complexity. I think the only way this succeeds is if it comes with my phone.
Well, phones are going to be a very important piece of the package, but there are lots of other devices coming.
Do you think people will buy a standalone mobile TV device?
Well, there's going to be in-car solutions for sure.
In-car, that makes sense, yeah.
There are.
So it'll work as I'm driving down the road. I'll have a good signal.
Absolutely. We've tested it at 80 miles an hour.
Wow.
And we've done lab simulations for bullet train applications at 150 miles an hour.
But you'll need to be near a local signal.
It's the same coverage area, though. If you think of
it is the same. That's what I was going to ask.
What the broadcasters call the beat contour.
Yeah.
And because the signal is more robust, you're able to deal with some of the terrain issues better than you would with regular terrestrial broadcasting.
Now, internationally, this is a standard that is actually Korea, for instance. They use this, right?
Not the same standard.
It's a difference. It's MH.
Now, in Korea, they use the ATSC broadcast standard for HD TV to fixed receivers, but they have a different system called TDMB for mobile television. Japan has ISDB, which is a different mobile television standard, and in Europe there's DVB-H. So there's kind of competing standards around the world.
But in the U.S., it's the same ATSC standard that we watch at home.
Exactly.
It's an extension of it.
An extension of it, yeah.
And it's really tailored specifically for the U.S. market and for the needs of broadcasters, and most importantly, the U.S. consumer.
Is that a challenge for LG? I mean, you make devices that are global. So you have to make a U.S. device, a Japanese device, a Korean.
We're a big company. It's not a great challenge. We're arms dealers. We'll sell them all over the place.
And you're used to that. I mean, it's true for TV standards too. You know, you have NTSC in some markets, CCAM and PAL in other markets.
Now I see you have a mobile TV here that's actually doing 3D glasses.
Wait a minute.
3D.
No.
Again, the picture froze on us, unfortunately, but
that's Yogi, and he's 3D. I could see he's jumping out.
It's kind of cool because what we're showing is the flexibility of the standard of the ATSC.
A little bit differently there.
ATSC mobile DTV standard for broadcasters to deliver things like 3D.
So you have enough bandwidth to do a 3D signal?
Yeah, it doesn't really take that much more.
Interesting.
The other cool thing we're showing, I think...
and of course, folks at home, you're not seeing the 3D, but I see it here.
But you can see it.
It's lenticular, so as you move it, it
you
looks...
get these little dark bands going across.
But
your eyes
works.
have to be in the right place.
It's a 3DS.
Well, it's actually not lenticular, and it's a parallax barrier, some kind of thing that's technically over my head. It's magical, but it's...
Same idea, though. You have to be in a specific space to see that 3D, and there's multiple places around that you can see.
Correct.
Exactly.
Neat. That would be in the back of my car seat, I think.
Right.
The kids would watch that.
For the kids to watch on the long trip. Exactly.
So what do you anticipate, John, for adoption of this mobile TV standard?
We're really bullish about this market. We think that the
broadcasters want it.
Broadcasters want it, and if you look at the landscape today, there's naysayers out there that say that terrestrial broadcasting is dead, that they should give up their spectrum.
Yes.
Mobile DTV and things like emergency alerts and will really breathe new life into terrestrial broadcasting. This shows a very important use of that spectrum. Think of the emergency alert applications. Just yesterday, the PBS announced a pilot project that LG is going to be involved in to take the existing emergency alert system that was developed right after 9/11 and blow it up into a much bigger program based on mobile DTV. So not just delivering 90 characters of text for an emergency alert, but using rich media of video and audio. So,
and how soon before we see the devices that we can watch?
Some are on the market right now. There's a couple in the booth that you can get, but in terms of
I'd love to see it in the phone because I don't want to carry another thing.
That's coming soon, and one of the barriers has been that. At least in the United States, the mobile phone carriers really have a lot of control over what goes in the phones.
We know this.
And we love those guys. They're our customers, and we've had many fruitful discussions with them to help them understand that this is really not competing, but it's complementary. When you think of the broadcast model, one to many, and it's the best delivery system for video. A perfect example, 2 years ago when I was at President Obama's inauguration on the National Mall with 1 million people.
They could hardly see, right?
You couldn't, there's no way you could watch video, let alone make a call.
Right.
But if you had mobile digital television, everyone could watch it at the same time.
Isn't that cool? John, it's great to meet you again, see you again, and and you're wearing a different hat, the
Thank
mobile
you
TV
for
hat.
having us
And
back.
thank you for filling us in on this. And I can't wait to get it. Maybe it'll be on my G2X when that arrives at T-Mobile. Or maybe my Optimus. I don't know. We'll see. I wouldn't mind.
One cool application that we're showing here for the first time that I think your audience would really appreciate is we call it TWiT TV. So it's actually using mobile digital television tied in with Twitter. So you could actually have multiple people watching the same program, and they would tweet, and the tweet would go to the TV station that would consolidate them, and that would overlay on your screen.
It's not a two-way standard, though.
It's not a two-way standard, but there is a return path using the mobile phone, of course.
Interesting. How interesting. That's a neat application.
Yeah, it's cool.
Thanks, John. We appreciate it. John Taylor from LG. Life is good.
Life is good.
Life is good. Not Lucky Gold Star. We don't say
Thanks,
that.
John.
Thank you so much.
We're live at the NAB Show in Las Vegas, Nevada. We're going to do Windows Weekly in a little bit. Paul Thurrott will join us. Paul is here not for the NAB Show, but for the Mix Show. Which is Microsoft's web show. So he's going to be here, and he'll be joining us. Normally, we start that show at about 11 a.m. We'll start a little bit late to give us a little more time to do some coverage on the Final Cut thing and so forth. But stay tuned. Paul Thurrott is going to join us probably in about half an hour. And we will go back to the studio for This Week in Google. Tom Merritt will host. So we will have Twig at our usual time, 1 p.m. Pacific, 4 p.m. Eastern on live.twit.tv. Do you want me? Should I do a commercial now? Would this be a good time to do a Netflix? And then we'll get set up. Larry Jordan and Alex Lindsay will join us to talk about Final Cut Pro. It's not X, Alex. It's 7.
That's the old one.
Oh. You sure?
Yeah, that's the old one.
year's stunning new release?
Do a search for FCPX.
Oh. It looks...
It's
really?
not, no, it doesn't look like that at all anymore.
Oh.
I know that may look new to you, but you haven't been doing your own editing for 5 years.
It's been a while since I've used Final Cut. All right, here we go. Now I found it. We'll talk about that in just a second. It's a huge announcement, maybe the biggest announcement of the National Association of Broadcasters show. This show brought to you, as always, by our friends at Netflix. We love Netflix. I don't have to tell you how great Netflix is. It's, of course, we all know the DVD by mail model. In as little as 1 business day, you get your movie. You can get subscriptions of 1, 2, 3, or 4, or 5 movies. I have the 5 movie at a time subscription. That means I keep 5 movies at a time. When I mail one back, they instantly turn around and send me the next movie on my queue. I have a queue of several hundred movies. But it's funny, I was just looking at my Netflix account. I have about, I think it's 150 movies on my regular queue, and I have over 300 movies on my Watch Instantly queue. That's the exciting new feature that Netflix.
And some of those 300 are oftentimes TV series, which is another
whole darn series. Exactly. Yeah. I am such a huge Netflix fan. Let me see. I'm just going to check. I'll tell you my queue numbers. So I have my, you go now on the Netflix site to your queue, and it shows you both your regular queue and your Watch Instantly. The funny thing is, you don't even need a Watch Instantly queue because you just watch anything you want anytime.
You just search.
You just search.
Yeah.
And there are so many great movies on the Netflix Watch Instantly.
The Girl with the Dragon Tattoo.
Yeah, they've got 1 and 2 now.
Both,
there.
all 3.
All 3?
Yeah, they all the way up to the girl who kicked the
can't keep up.
Horn
234 discs on my DVD queue. 367 on my instant. You might say I'm a heavy user. I love Netflix, so we have it on all of our TVs. I have Roku boxes on 2 TVs, a PlayStation 3 on another, an Xbox 360 on another, a Nintendo Wii. Any way, almost any way you can watch TV, you can have Netflix instant on there. Of course, on your laptops and on your iPad and iPhone.
I'm not sure if I know anybody without Netflix.
Well, that's the only problem with this ad. Larry Jordan.
Larry Jordan doesn't have Netflix.
Netflix.com/twit. We got to send you there.
I kept trying to enroll in Netflix, and they said Leo's got all the movies checked out.
That's why Instant's great, because there's no limit, to how many people can watch a movie. I was just watching the Smothers Brothers, as I mentioned, because Andy had recommended that book. That's on disc, and so that's why sometimes you know it's nice to have the disc as well.
Sure.
And then I'm looking as you go through your regular queue. Every once in a while, you'll see a play button, which means you could play that movie right now. You could watch it instantly. Oh, The Fast and the Furious. Maybe I'll watch that. You don't mind while you guys are doing the show?
No.
And many of these movies in high def, it really is spectacular. Netflix.com/TWiT. You could try it free for 30 days. Free discs and watch instantly, which is really spectacular. We just love Netflix. If you haven't tried it yet, try it. And, you know, I think really you might also want to try it for a loved one. I gave it to my mom, and every year on her birthday, I give her a renewed year-long subscription to Netflix, and she just loves it. She calls me every once in a while and says, "Okay, I need stuff for my queue. What should I watch?" We were watching Big Night. Oh, you want to get hungry? Watch Big Night. What a great movie.
I don't know that one.
Oh, it's so great. I'm trying to remember. Is it John Turturro's in it? Oh, that's right, Stanley Tucci. He is the crazy Italian chef.
Oh, he's great.
It's two brothers, Primo and Secundi, and they moved to America and they started an Italian restaurant. And the theme, it's one night. The theme of the big night is the restaurant's struggling a little bit, and they hope to turn their fortunes around because Louis Prima is coming to town, and they've been promised that Louis is going to come to the restaurant, so they make this amazing meal, and it's just wonderful. At one point, he says, "I am going to make a timpano." And his brother says, "No, not the timpano." I've had a timpano. It's an amazing dish. If you love movies, documentaries, TV shows, there's nothing better than Netflix. Netflix.com/TWiT. You could be watching, well, I'm watching right now, the Fast and the Furious, instantly on your laptop, on your iPad, on your iPhone, of course, and all those great.
We'll notice that Leo, every once in a while, in the middle of the show, will just simply look down and you
The timpano! No, not the timpano! If I could find that clip, I would play it. It is so great.
But, Leo, how do you really feel about Netflix?
I love them! You know, that's to be honest, I've been trying to get them to advertise on the network since I started advertising on the network. Because we try to get companies on that we use and we're fans of, and I don't think there are many. Amazon's one, Audible, which is an Amazon company, Netflix, they're just a few companies you just love. This is one of them. Netflix.com/TWiT. Look at that. You could be watching movies right now. That's on Wi-Fi.
At NAB. You could be watching movies while you're walking around.
Never be bored again, my friends. Hey, Larry Jordan is here. We're so glad you're here, Larry, with Scott Wilkinson and, of course, Alex Lindsay. And I think we really got to talk about Final Cut.
I think we really do.
Because this is huge. So I'll let you guys just go on and on and on. They announced this last night at the Super Meet.
Yeah, so Super Meet is every year.
This is the 10th year.
10th year. So 10, wow.
Yeah, it was the 10th anniversary. And this is the first time Apple's been at the Super Meet for a couple of years. As you know, Leo, they stopped coming to all the trade shows about 3 years ago.
Right.
They used to have the booth right over your shoulder.
They used to be here.
Yeah, they used to be here. They used to have a 100 by 100 foot booth. I mean, a significantly large booth. And when they started their stores, they said, we don't need to be at NAB anymore.
Or any convention.
Or any convention. CES or anything.
Right. So they pulled out of everything. And so it came as a surprise to a lot of people.
Okay.
It came as a surprise to a lot of people that they were going to talk about the new version of Final Cut at the Super Meet. And there were 1,700 people on their chairs last night watching the announcement.
Oh my goodness! Now you're the quintessential pro. You're a filmmaker. You teach Final Cut. I mean, this is a big part of your business.
It is indeed.
And I know that many pros that I talked to over the last couple of days before the Super Meet were very concerned that Apple was going to take their pro product and dumb it down. It looks like they did. Are you dissatisfied with what they've done?
No, I think that's a premature evaluation. I was just talking. Let's back up 2 steps and discuss what happened first.
Okay.
They did not launch Final Cut Pro. What they did for the very first time is they gave us a preview of a piece of Final Cut Pro. So they have been very careful to say that we're not talking about all the other applications in the suite. We're not even telling you everything that we're doing in Final Cut. It's absolutely a work in progress. And because of that, we want to essentially show you the interface. And people look at it and they say, wow, it's got a black screen rather than a gray screen. And, oh, it's essentially a single window with elements inside as opposed to movable windows. Then it must be iMovie. And The fallacy with this was pointed out to me after the presentation. One of the people that were sitting and watching it said, you know, a Ford and a Ferrari both have accelerators, but they're not the same car.
True.
Right.
If Apple was not interested in the Pro market, they would never introduce it at NAB, because the people
That's true.
That's exactly
they
right.
have to be, and the other thing, Leo, that you would appreciate, given the guests that you have on your show, is I was sitting in the second row from the front. Directly in front of me was Phil Schiller. To the right of Phil Schiller was the head of Apple PR.
Wow.
And then next to me was their senior vice president of development, followed by 2 directors of development. I mean, there were 10 high-level, except for Steve Jobs and Tim Cook, you had the high-level echelon of Apple sitting in the front row, watching the launch of a product not being introduced and not going on stage. These people have far too many demands on their time to come and watch something that Apple doesn't care about.
And I suspect that what they were also watching is the reaction of the user group,
which was overwhelmingly positive.
It was,
with the exception that we don't know a lot of the key answers. We don't know things like what are the other applications. We don't know what is changing in QuickTime. We don't know how it's dealing with media management. There's a lot of really significant issues that we would need to get resolved before the product launches.
So just to kind of the quick bottom line prices, it is going to be unbundled. It'll be sold on the Mac App Store. It'll be $299, which is a remarkable price. Some of the features that are normally a part of the full studio, like color, are going to be.
We saw a secondary color correction built into the actual app. We don't know whether color is going to be around or not, but we did see tools that we would typically send. We would send app stuff out to color to do the correction.
I don't know if you could see this. You know, we don't have screenshots really. The Loop got some screenshots from Apple, and I don't know if you probably can't pick that up very well. But if you let me see if I can find the URL so people can look at this.
Leo, I've got a blog.
Insight.com. Oh, your blog too, Larry?
The blog. If you go to larryjordan.biz/blog, I have both the write-up of last night and the enlarged images that you're showing. People can go right to the blog and look at it.
Excellent. larryjordan.biz/blog. So you can follow along. It does look very different.
It feels like a very modern interface. You know?
Totally.
And I will say that while it's definitely not iMovie, you can definitely see that they learned a lot. You know, there's a lot. If you are going, one of the things that's great is before, whether it was the old iMovie or the new iMovie, you'd learn how to do that, you'd get comfortable with it, and then you'd go to Final Cut Express and you'd be lost. Now, those paradigms are very similar.
And one of the interesting reasons is the underlying technology is Quartz Composer.
Right.
And one of the developers for Apple was showing me the Quartz Composer engine, which uses the exact same color background, the exact same glossy interface. So it isn't that it's iMovie-esque, it's that it's built on the core technology of Core Composer. So it's like the underlying foundation is built of brick, so everything built of brick looks like something built of brick.
Quartz Composer is amazing.
And one of the questions that we have, though, is that it would appear, we might assume that FX Plug is not going to be there. So where do developers go? I mean, that's
a huge question that there's no answer, and if you ask Apple, they will say what we're doing is we're showing you a preview of the product, and they're not talking. QuickTime has to change, but I was talking with some engineering people, and they're very careful to say nothing about QuickTime, so that this is a very limited release of the interface to get people accustomed to where Apple's headed, to get feedback, but it's by no means in detail.
You said that it's basically been unbundled from what it used to be.
Right.
I'm curious to know what functions are now separated out and you might have to buy separately.
Well, it came as a suite. So what you had before was
at $12.99.
At $12.99.
You had a bunch of things.
Bunch of applications.
Okay.
6 applications.
Okay, and now you're going to buy them separately.
That's the presumption, but we don't know. We don't know what applications are coming with it, and we don't know what the pricing is going to be. One of the stunning things is they're selling it through the App Store. This is a huge application to sell through the App Store, which caught a lot of people by surprise.
Yeah. I mean, normally stuff there is $10 or free. And here you're paying $300.
But you were paying $12.99, and I think that this is one of the things that I think Apple had to do. They had to put it in the Mac App Store. They're not going to be able to put it in there for $10.
Yeah.
I thought maybe they would get aggressive enough to say $99, looking at $2.99. I think that makes sense. I think that they are saying, but I think what Apple is saying is that if you're making a Pro app going into the Mac App Store, you better have a really, really strong app if you're going to charge more than $300. They're setting a certain pace.
I think it would have been inappropriate to have it be at $99.
Yeah.
Yeah. But it means that what used to be the price that you paid for Final Cut Express is now getting you Final Cut.
And look what happened with Avid. Avid made the announcement on Monday this week that they were doing a cross-grade, that you could go from any version of Final Cut to Avid for $999. And now, all of a sudden, Apple's $700 lower than that.
Right. Right.
Well, and I think that
and it also provides a very logical step up for somebody like me, for whom Final Cut was a real challenge. I used iMovie. It did most of what I wanted to. But now at a fairly reasonable step up from iMovie, you can get a Pro package. Final Cut Express, I take it, is gone. Yeah. You can get a Pro package that will grow almost limitlessly with your abilities. Is that right, Larry? I mean, you do a lot of training in Final Cut.
You know, one of the things that I think is going to be the real challenge is helping editors to unlearn what they know and learn the new interface.
So if you never learned how to edit, you're in great shape right now.
Well, I think a couple things. One of the problems I've got is I actually do know more than I can talk about. And so Alex is coming in with some wonderful comments that prevent me from having to talk in some of these areas.
So listen to Alex. Okay, we got
So I appreciate what Alex has to say. So, but one of the things that we've never been able to do before is to move projects easily from iMovie up into Final Cut Express or Final Cut. It is to be hoped that that is now going to change. It's also to be hoped that we have greater interconnection between different applications, not just within the Apple family, but across production environments in general, because editing doesn't exist in a vacuum. You've got to deal with all the different cameras and all the different formats of distribution, and the XML foundation upon which Final Cut is based makes that kind of sharing possible, but we don't know how they're developing that with this version. So I think the way to think about it is you have to withhold judgment until we know more, because the devil's in the details. As you look at this, if they implement it right, it's stunning. It is everything that we could possibly want. It's fast, it's modern, it does stuff we've always wanted and never did. If they implement it poorly, it looks exactly the same, and it's like running a race car on square wheels.
Well, and the concern that I always have when a application has a lot of automatic features and has a lot of pre-built things that do a lot of things for you, when those start to break, it's very difficult to get back to square one. So, and so when I get very excited about the magnetic timeline, and I get very excited about, a lot of the tools that they're putting together. But I go, and if I have a 2-hour piece, or I have a 45-minute piece, and I start playing around with auditioning things and moving all of that stuff in and out, is it really going to work? And those are the kind of things we have to test once we have it.
And there's a very, very cool thing they did that you may have missed when they were doing the presentation, but I've heard it twice. First, I heard it in the middle of February, and they did the exact same presentation last night so I could compare my notes. What they said is it will analyze clips for image stabilization. It will analyze clips for color correction, but it doesn't actually stabilize. It doesn't actually color correct. So the auto features are analyzed, which is all the time-consuming stuff. Right. But then you have control over whether you turn those features on or not.
That's very cool.
Well, and those don't bother me nearly as much. What I get concerned about is the connections between the audio and the magnetic timeline where things are popping around. And extremely powerful features. I mean, that are going to make a huge difference in workflows. It's just that what I get concerned about is in a really big project how well they'll perform on a laptop.
Yes.
So those are those are things that and we won't know until we get to play with it. But I think a very advanced editor is going to have a hard time because this is an extension of their hands right now. And that's no longer it's basically been cut off. You're going to.
How about somebody moving from Premiere or Avid? Will they feel comfortable making this move? Is this so different even from the competition that it's...
Users of or the developers of?
Users of. Editors.
I think partly you edit because you pick the tool that works the best with how you think, and partly you pick the tool because it meets the technical needs that you've got.
Right.
I think that every editor has its own challenges, and every piece of software has its own challenges. But I think that the process of editing is the same, and the idea of telling stories visually remains the same. But there is absolutely going to be a learning curve, and the more you've used the old version of Final Cut, the harder it's going to be to make that transition. Leo, just two things to emphasize from what Alex said. One of the neat things about the magnetic timeline, which is very cool, is if you take a clip and you slide the clip down the timeline, other clips get out of the way. It's like the Knight's bus on Harry Potter. You're moving a clip, and the buildings get out of the way as you're moving the clip.
But it doesn't run over them. It doesn't go through them. And it actually, these all just
it just pushes them away, and then you move past it, and the clips come back together again. It's called the magnetic timeline, which is very cool, and it's very friendly. And you're right, it's in the implementation. But just because Alex didn't explain what the magnetic timeline was, I had to share with you.
And the truth is, 2 years from now, we'll look back and say, oh yeah, okay, fine. I remember the tempest over the Change It I movie, and everybody was very upset. And by the time it kind of got absorbed by everybody, now everybody's very comfortable with it. You don't see many people downloading iMovie 6. It's always difficult to make a transition.
Yeah.
It sounds like if Apple continues to focus, as you seem to think they are, on the pro market and fulfilling the pro market's needs, there'll be a little bit of upset. But boy, I tell you what, from a point of view of somebody like me, $299 and something that's a little more intuitive and more powerful is very attractive, not just for me as an editor, but for me as somebody who hires and uses editors. It's going to be a lot easier for us to train people, a lot easier for us to get our job done. We really are only doing kind of almost A/B editing, old school editing. It sounds like this will work fine for that too, which is great. It'll be a quick editor. So I'm actually pretty excited about it. I think this is I'm very pleased with what Apple's doing, I think.
No, I think that it is, especially for this huge market of very fast turn. Fast turn.
That's where there's a lot of people.
Yeah, you have, when you're looking at predators, who are, they're out, producer editors who are out there, they're being sent on the field with a laptop to go shoot something, turn it over that day, and send it back. I think this is going to be a huge application for them, where they're not necessarily the guys that sit in front of Final Cut all day, but they need to be able to create a creative story very, very fast in a very, very short turnaround. I think this is going to be a very, very powerful application for them.
One of the other really cool things that it does is it now supports background rendering, which means you're not having to wait for stuff to render anymore.
That's very good.
It takes advantage of the new 64-bit memory addressing, so you can have unlimitedly large projects, and it works with all the processors on your computer. So if you've got an 8-core, or 12-core, or 75-core, or 261-core processor, which I'm sure is going to be announced next week, Final Cut will take advantage of that, which the current version does none of those things.
And when I think of a 13-inch laptop or a 15-inch laptop with Thunderbolt hooked to a little mini RAID, like one of the little C RAIDs at 700 megs a second, with a bunch of RAM in it, this is you could really do a lot of damage in the field.
Oh, seriously. And the other thing that it does is you don't have to transcode. According to what Apple said last night, is that all video formats are now calculated in real time. So you don't need to take DSLR footage and translate it to ProRes, or take AVC HD footage and translate it. So the small, inexpensive cameras that are shooting cheap video formats now can be edited natively in a way that they otherwise can't.
Speaking of cameras, the Red camera is here, so I want to bring them up. We can talk more about Final Cut X or 10. Larry, 10 or X?
It's Final Cut Pro 10.
10. So it's not X. We now know it's 10.
Well, look at its OS 10.
Right.
Although it's written with an X. It's,
right. Okay. I was confused. Thank you, Larry. We'll have more to talk about in that in just a little bit. Also, Windows Weekly coming up in just about 15, 20 minutes. But come on. We got to take a look at this. Larry, even you have to be interested in this. This is the new,
absolutely,
the newest Red.
It's a still camera, is it not?
I don't know. Let's find out. Let's get his microphone on. I'm sorry. What's your name? I didn't get your name.
It's Mike Seymour.
Oh, hi, Mike. How are you? Good to see you.
And Mike Seymour's an old friend of mine, just to kind of set people up. But Mike is the founder of FX PhD and FX Guide, and they're an incredible training resource for visual effects and film production. They are a lot of PixScore members are also members of FX PhD, and they've been on the cutting edge of Red production since the beginning.
Actually, I'm friends with Bobby Llewellyn because I worked on Red Dwarf.
Love Bobby.
Yep, so I was
That's
the
great.
visual
What
effects.
did you? Your visual effects at Red Dwarf?
I was visual effects supervisor on the last series and second unit director.
That's exciting.
So yeah.
And of course they just did you're talking about the one that they just did, or the ones 10 years ago?
No, the special that happened.
That's fantastic.
About a year ago. We shot it on the previous version, which is why I mention it. We shot it on the Red one, which Alex has shot with, and it's about this big. And if I pass this down, it's really heavy.
Yeah, do pass that down, would you?
Okay. Now, if Alex runs off the stage, I have people standing by to go.
Don't worry about Alex.
I've been looking. I was looking. I can hop that.
So remember, you have to give it back.
Yeah, no, I'll give it back. So, Mike, is this a video camera?
That is shooting IMAX. So you are shooting 5K.
IMAX video?
Yeah.
IMAX.
Now, when I say IMAX, I
mean...
mean...
Is it a square aspect ratio?
No, sir. If you think of 1920 by 1080 as good on old HD,
right.
this thing's like a quarter of that resolution. And not only that, it can shoot 120 frames a second.
Wait a minute, it's a quarter of the resolution or 4 times the rate?
No, HD is this tiny little dot postage
stamp. This is 4K.
Yeah.
That
so one's 5K.
5K, so
5K at 120 frames a second. And I know you like photography.
I do.
The other thing that's amazing about this camera, and I know Alex has done this, is it shoots high dynamic range. So it literally shoots...
How many stops?
Well, I've got some clips to show you if you want to see. But while we're doing that, I'll also point out, if I can pass that down, that we attach a Teradex to the end of it, so we can broadcast
It is
live.
heavy. This is what, about 8 pounds, 9 pounds?
Yeah.
Look at that. We're watching this video stream live on the iPad, being shot from that camera.
Actually, we don't have it. I'm holding it. It's not connected to that camera right this second.
I see,
we have another camera right here.
You're using the red mote.
Oh, I see. You've got a remote over there.
No, we just run out. So we're literally,
Look, there I am.
confuse two technologies, we run out of that camera at little old 1920 by 1080 live. So the director, like yourself, could hold the iPad and see what's being shot.
So this is a video tap, basically.
Yep,
from that
and
one right
wirelessly. And so we do a lot of that kind of stuff and have a lot of fun with it. But
and that's 1080p. Now, of course, it's not on the iPad, but it would be 1080p.
That would be 1080p, which is a great little thing to look at to check your image.
How big is the sensor in that?
It's pretty big. It's a little smaller than the 5D, but we're in the zone of the 5D. So think of it looking much like a 5D, but shooting completely extraordinary imagery. And can we play any clips, Leo? Is that all right? We've got a couple of really short little clips we shot in New Zealand.
Let me ask,
they're all
do
loaded.
We have those clips lined up? All right, here you go. Oh. I don't know how this looks at home on the stream, but let me tell you. Is this HD? Looks like HDR.
We've gone down to HD, but yes, these are HDR images shot by Stu Mashowitz, who used to work with Stu. This is a helicopter shot over New Zealand. I just thought I'd bring these down because I know how much you like photography, and it's also one thing to look at a camera, but it's another thing to look at what a camera does.
The footage is, exactly right.
It's like comparing the oven to the muffins.
And so it's small and lightweight, and yet it's shooting this incredibly high frame rate and incredibly high footage.
What is the frame rate, 60?
No, it can be 120 frames a second
at 5K.
At 5K. And so to give you an idea about that, if you were...
Oh, my God.
This is shooting out of a helicopter. This is the chopper pilot from Lord of the Rings. And we actually went quiet here, Leo. The way you would go quiet if somebody was doing brain surgery on your best friend. Like, no one say a word in case he gets distracted and doesn't notice.
Yeah, because you're a few feet above the water there. Yeah.
And this is all slow-mo. So you can... Shooting slow-mo is great. It's terrific. So we had a lot of fun.
So if you shoot at 120 frames and you just show it at 60, you're going to...
Well, we'd show it at normally 24 because we do a lot of film work.
Right.
So that means that...
Look at this. That's HDR, obviously. That's just incredible.
And this is
my goodness.
So small, Alex. We put this on a cine slider, just a little SLR slider to do this shot. And, small
Well, and the size is just amazing.
Is there any post-processing in this, or this is right out of the camera?
No, this is heavy-duty post-processing. Because, you're dealing with really high-core... It's not designed for somebody that wants to do point-and-shoot type stuff. It really is designed for professional...
Of course.
But, this is the trade show to be showing that kind of stuff out.
Now, let me ask, Red's always been very modular. So there are different modules in this, right?
Yeah, literally, Alex could, well, I hope he doesn't.
Disassemble it.
Yeah, disassemble it in front of me. That would just pop off the side.
Yes. So this here just pops right off.
The grip.
Let me turn. This grip here comes off.
Yep.
Of course, the handle up here pops off.
And you buy what you need. You buy the sensor, you buy the lens, you buy the grip, you buy what you need.
Absolutely. And we've put really big lenses on there, like a Master Prime 1.2, which is, a $50,000 lens. But it just screams out for little lenses so that you can be handheld with it.
Yeah.
It just loves that. And all of the user interface is up on the screen there at the top. So.
It's interesting because one of the reasons people tell me they're using DSLRs for filming is because it's compact. You can get in an elevator with somebody, but this is as compact.
Well, we were walking around the Strip filming Indian Elvis impersonators. Anyway, I don't know why that was. But, and we went up the top of the Eiffel Tower here at Vegas and shot out to the thing, and it was all great because no one stopped us. No one said, "Oh, film crew, you can't come in here."
Right, you don't look like a film. You look kind of just like you got.
And it's also a big deal for 3D because one of the problems you get into is the only way to really do high quality 3D at the moment is still a beam splitter. So you're going to put two
cameras.
You're going through a beam split, and the bigger the cameras, the bigger the beam splitter, the bigger everything has to be, and the harder it is to deal with.
Yeah.
And these cameras, I've seen a couple of them on some beam splitters, and they just pop right on. It's much more compact and much more doable.
What was the rough price range we're talking about? I know price is silly to talk about here.
No, it's a good question, because literally the Hobbit is shooting it and Spider-Man, so they're buying a lot of them. At the moment, these are the custom hand-built ones, so you don't get much change from 60 grand. The next ones that are coming out in a few weeks.
That's remarkable.
Are the production line ones. They're more like about 30.
That's really remarkable.
They're really coming out. So the body.
Don't quote me, Alex. Let's just.
I got Ted on
between
tomorrow.
friends,
So we'll
don't. But no. Well, they after the show, obviously. They were similarly struck, as many people have been here at the show, by the tragedy in Japan.
Yeah.
So notwithstanding that, I don't have any inside knowledge on the exact date, but we spoke to Ted yesterday, and they're absolutely moving ahead with those. They're not the cheaper versions; they're the production line versions that are not
As a
handmade.
filmmaker, this just must blow you away, the capability here.
Yeah, we shot stereo in Sydney, and we shot them with a small little rig, but we also just stuck two of them on a side-by-side rig, and we had handheld stereo in 5K. And it just blew my mind. I was like...
What stereo rig were you using for the...
we've shot with the ET rigs, and we've shot other cameras. We've shot the Alexa, and we love that. We've shot Sony, we've shot the red ones, but this is the smallest rig we've used.
That is one of the things that's interesting, is Sony and others are saying, hey, we want to get in this space. They've got the F3. I mean, we're seeing 4K cameras from every big manufacturer. Of course, Red just went one more.
Ours
it goes
is
to
one
5.
better.
Well, Sony just announced the F65, which is an 8K camera.
That's right.
Wow.
8K that outputs to 4K. I mean, it's super sampling that down, and it's a much. But again, when you're talking about size and stereo and everything else, the other thing you have to remember is that it's also, we don't know what the price is. They didn't tell us.
No, they didn't.
Price is this. Remember, this is, we're talking 30,000 to 60,000. And that one is going to, my guess, knowing what their other cameras cost, the Sony will be between 150,000 and 250,000.
And it's a heck of a lot bigger than that thing, too.
It's like 4 of these would still fit inside.
Yeah.
But what I'm seeing is
it's a very high quality camera. For certain
but what Red's done is it's suddenly opened the floodgates to higher resolutions in a way that hasn't happened before. Is that we thought 2K would be the stop, and now it's 4K, and now 5K and 8K.
And no matter what you think of, whether you have a Red or not, when you look at the AF100, when you look at the FS100, when you look at the F3, those wouldn't exist if Red didn't exist.
Oh, of course not. You push the market.
We love those smaller cameras. I mean, I bought a GoPro here at the show, right?
Right.
Yeah. I mean, it's horses for courses, but when you enter a certain category of work, like The Hobbit or something, I mean, this is the camera right now. It's the hottest thing. And there are very few of them here because, they've been rolling them out. But having said that, they are out there. We're shooting with them. We're having a ball. We're just doing great work. It's
Mike,
just
why
fun.
5K? It seems like 4 makes sense. It's a multiple of, the HD resolution. Why 5?
Okay, so I'm going to say this as a Mike Seymour comment, not as a Red comment, but I think they got so annoyed at people nitpicking the 4K that they said, because the 4K you could argue is a 3.2K resolution on test charts, and I'm like, who cares about the test charts? But anyway, I think they went 5K, so they can say, okay, if you want to argue with me about 5, you'll have to agree it's 4, and then shut up and go away. But I think honestly, apart from the reframing capabilities, which are enormous, and
when you say reframing, it means you have extra. You could crop
extra
it
room.
effectively.
Yeah, absolutely. Like we were up at your old hunting ground at ILM, and we were shooting an interview, and we had 2 things that were extraordinary. We had a 2-shot of me in it, obviously. We happened to have an Epic lying around, so we thought, well, use that for an interview. Absurdly stupid thing to do, but there you go. And we could just cut in full HD on either of the 2 people talking.
Right.
But we had them standing, as you know, at the Presidio in front of the Golden Gate Bridge. So they're standing there, fully normally exposed. And on the normal viewfinder, it would be just white in the windows, as you'd know from any photography. We completely restored a gorgeous panorama of the Golden Gate Bridge out the window in the same shot.
Oh, wow.
So I think we can get transfixed on the 5K and the frame rates are great, but this high dynamic range on moving footage is just
and we've talked about that being the holy grail, you know.
Absolutely.
Now, do you give anything up when you set it to the high? Is there a reason to not shoot it all
other
the time?
than money? Yes, it is literally, and I'm not going to get too technical, but it literally halves your effective frame rate. So I'm shooting at 120, it would go down to 60 because it's having to store a lot more data to the SSD, which is at the side there. But those SSDs at the side, you know, will shoot like 40 minutes of material.
I was going to say, that's 128 gig SSD. That's 40 minutes?
About that. Yeah, it depends what we're doing with, you know, there are lots of variables I can play with. But we were in the chopper, and we had it on a gyro, and we would just bring it in, and someone would pop the mag, put a new one in, and go again. It was awesome. And of course, we were doing that because we were shooting for our online training stuff, as Alex mentioned before. So it was great having Stu down there. And I'd like to say that I just hire helicopters all the time and do this for fun, but it was all in an educational, good intent.
Let's show just a little bit more of that video. I just want people to see it, and I want to thank.
We have a few other clips you can.
Oh yeah, we have some other clips. Okay, I want to thank Mike. This is the original one. Do you have another one that you could show?
There's
Alex?
quite a few.
Alex, pick a different one because we've already seen this one. I mean, not that I don't mind seeing it again. It's just stunning, and that's slow motion also. Yeah.
Literally, that little girl was just there, and we were setting up on a slider, and I saw. You know, when you work with people pretty well, like I knew Stu, and I was like, just whispered really quietly, girl coming around the corner in about 3 seconds, and there it happened. Hey, I can show you something else here because I've got it.
Sure.
This is my friend Jason Wingrove, who's a actually absurd person to have working a camera because he's an absolutely brilliant director, but he's just a good friend and humble. And if I just pass this down to you, this is him shooting 120 frames in Sydney on
Larry's not going to give it up.
So,
oh, yeah.
I know what
I'm
happens once you hold it.
him.
Yeah, and we're looking at it in slow-mo, and you can really...
You know, Leo, if you could see this, it looks really good.
Yeah, I really wish you could see this.
Yeah, so do I. Wow. I mean, and the depth of field on this is amazing.
I've got one more thing that's really going to upset you. At least it'll upset anyone that is thinking about, well, should I spend the money or not? That has a piece of nice PL glass on the front, which means professional glass. They, and I played with it, have a Canon mount. Take your L series glass and put it on the front. And I'm telling you, it's like, my wife heard that, and she was literally cutting up my credit cards. She was like...
Well, I have 1 or 2 L-series lenses I might want to try with that. That's amazing.
And, of course, the Canon make really, really good glass.
Right.
And the 5D's got a big chip, so it works really well. So, and I've got to tell you, when you have that on there, you just... And I don't want to sound like a snob, but I was like, I've had my 5D here in Vegas. Every time I go out, I throw that in my satchel.
Why
I
wouldn't
haven't
you?
taken it out of the room. I've not taken the 5D out of the room, and I love that. I used to love that 5D.
I used to love you, 5D.
Yes.
You're so fickle.
So
really,
there is a trickle down to this at some point. I mean, 30,000 is too much. It's actually an amazingly low price, but at some point, do these technologies eventually
they're all
come
making
to us
their way
via
down.
Scarlett and Epic?
And Mike, do we? And that's something that I think we can have some discussions tomorrow morning. I think we're going to have Ted on here. We're going to push him on a little bit on that. But have they made any announcements about the smaller cameras?
Yeah, absolutely. We were shooting yesterday with Scarlett, which is the younger brother of that one, or younger sister, not to be sexist. And so that's a smaller camera. That, in that particular case, has a 2/3 inch sensor, so it's smaller, and the Scarlett is cheaper. And
did they set a price on the Scarlett?
I don't know. I can say the price on the Scarlett. It has a fixed lens, but ask Ted tomorrow. Beat him up by all means, especially because it's Ted and he's fun to beat up. But yeah, and it's great. And now that is, of course, still a bit pricey for many people.
Show more, Alex. Just keep showing clips. Because this is just.
That's off my yacht in Sydney, and we're shooting that with.
Look at the night shot. Oh my God.
This is time lapse over New Zealand. So there's a lot of stuff, and of course, what you're seeing here is, obviously compressed to put it on a memory card. But how cool that you can just do this stuff. And how great that it gives a lot of filmmakers the ability to compete in a completely, unrestricted way.
Well, and it's not just filmmakers who own it. When you have a camera that's $30,000, it changes all the rental prices as well. So it means that you can, your weekly rentals are going to be much lower. So you can actually choose to shoot something that's at 4K or 5K without having to, give that up.
I don't know if we can play that shot of the car again.
Go back to that if you can.
You can play the car. And the reason I want to put the car shot on here is that the one we just saw of the car, I actually shot pretty much at night. And you'll tell that because the headlights are on my car. So that's the high dynamic range. That's pretty much at night. And
wow.
So
and are you
I shot it. I was driving. Stu was filming.
This is a pretty wide lens. Is this that lens? Or
yeah, that's actually an 11-16 converted lens. It's called a Duclos. So some guys in LA, they buy stills lenses, convert them to PL glass. And I love that glass. And it's $3,500, which is a lot for a SLR, but nothing in comparison to what you pay for a...
Yeah.
And it,
What is the difference in dynamic range between high dynamic range and regular dynamic range?
Great question. Obviously, in the stills world, you tend to do a lot of bracketing, and the way this works is pretty simple, actually, but very effective. It would give you, and you press it on the screen there, either 3, 4, 5, or 6 stops extra latitude. So let's say I exposed for Leo now, and behind him was a window. I would literally just dial in, say, and change my exposure down by 6 stops and go, that looks nice. Out the window looks great. Leo is now completely silhouetted, but the window looks good.
Right.
And I say, that's what I want. Then I hit that button, and then it's going to grab Leo at normal exposure and grab the windows at 6 stops difference and combine them.
Wow.
And so that's some boat shots.
Just keep showing clips, Alex. You don't need to see us. We just want to see this.
We were hunting for a reflection pool like this, so this has been nicknamed my pool. But this is, very low flying around some rocks, just to get that reflection of the water. And again, at the end of the day, low light. Normally would be an NG take because you couldn't see anything. Sun had sort of gone down. You know that magic hour just after the sun sets?
Yeah.
And it's a little dark on this grade because we're trying to play for the reflection, but huge amounts of grading latitude to be able to get really, really gorgeous footage. And so that high dynamic range gives us that latitude, and I find that to be one of the most impressive aspects of the camera. I know some people would be really keen at getting that super slow-mo stuff, and if you drop your resolution down to something like 3K, you can go up to like 250 frames a second. But for me, it's just having a lot of exposure. And I don't know if you're the same as me, guys, but do you guys actually like tone-mapped HDR shots? Because I think they look ugly.
Yeah, they're weird looking.
They're weird looking.
Look at this.
And does this stuff look like it's
very natural.
It doesn't look like it's tone-mapped. It doesn't look like that horrible kind of weird thing.
It's not, yeah.
And that's down to the Red guys who've just come up with some really great code to do it. And as you can see here, we get a lot of exposure latitude. And then, of course, it's great if you're in a chopper or some situation and you can be feeding it out to the guy sitting around you with a video split, and it's all wireless, and it works really well.
Look at that.
We've just started testing playing with the Teradek, the little wireless piece that we have there, and it's pretty impressive. Yeah.
And I just think it looks natural, and that's the thing. My wife, I showed her this shot, which we called the impossible shot. It was coming out of like a tunnel and out into the daylight, and so we showed the shot, and she was just like, "What am I looking at?" And I'm like, "Don't you see? Like it's pitch black in the tunnel, and it's outside, and the clouds." And she's like, "Isn't that what it looks like?" She's like, $60,000, so I can do this shot.
You can see the blade of the helicopter at the top of that shot.
Yeah.
That's on an 8R lens, which is a rectilinear 8mm lens, and it costs more than my life.
That is stunning.
And yeah.
Look at that water.
We're going to see more beautiful movies than ever before, obviously.
I hope so. Yeah. I mean, this is New Zealand. This is where they're going to shoot The Hobbit.
So gorgeous.
So I'm not saying that I can match The Hobbit. Obviously not. That's great. But this is the kind of scenery that they're going to be able to hit with that film. So, and
they're shooting that with a Red.
And I believe they're shooting it, you might know this, Alex, at 48 frames a second. So they're actually going to have it not so that you watch it at normal 24, but you watch it without motion artifacts by having everything shot at 48. So just gorgeous.
See, who needs 3D?
When does principal photography start? You know when? It has already started.
And, these guys are here obviously at the show, and they're pretty funky guys. They got somebody being live tattooed on the booth. I don't know if you've seen this. I mean, actually, really tattooed
in 5K, like you can, or 4K.
There are 3 cameras around, and you can happily film someone getting their body permanently marked by ink.
I was wondering if when they said that, I was wondering, are they only putting red? I can see people having like little red tattoos.
Well, I know we don't like to talk about stuff that's too out there, but they're doing that to promote the next generation ship after this, which is the Dragon. And so they're tattooing these dragons on these poor girls. As a father, I'm mortified. I'm like, does your mother know that that's happening, lady? Anyway.
What booth is that? I want to go see.
It's the red booth. Right,
that's a really interesting thing to have at your booth, to be honest.
Yeah, I'm going to have a new product. And by the way, I'm going to, for the rest of your life, put my logo on your back.
Yeah.
It's like, I would have loved to have heard the pitch for that. But yeah, they're great guys and very supportive of everything we've been doing. And I've got to tell you, they're really, they're at that bleeding edge where, some days
this is stuff you shot just last night.
This is literally stuff out on the strip, and we were shooting at the Bellagio.
Yeah, and
it's great, and no one stops you, no one worries about stuff, and yet you can imagine this is actually from the top.
Awesome images.
Again, this is HDR stuff from the
thing is, that's what it looks like when you're there.
Exactly.
Isn't that it? And it doesn't look like it's HDR, does it?
No, it's just what it looks like. It's duplicating your human eye.
Yeah, and so what we're trying to do at PhD is we try and explain how this stuff works so that people are really well informed when they go on set, because what we don't want to have is people either shooting stuff and they're not quite understanding what's going on, or getting trapped that they don't understand the post-production process. So we have a really good group of people that are teaching the intricacies of that, and we work very closely with Adobe and the Foundry and a lot of the companies that are here to go through that workflow. And we unashamedly kind of go for that high end because we want to tackle the really complicated stuff and kind of explain the algorithms. So it is a bit of a geek fest.
Look at the bokeh. That's great. Mike, do you put any of these videos online? Is there anywhere we can go to see this?
Absolutely. We have two sites. We have FX Guide, which we started in '99, which basically covers the industry. It's free, and so that's got, for example, actually Scott Bourne in the early days helped us, giving us some advice. Told me never drink milk before I go on a podcast.
That's
anyway,
good advice.
So Scott gave us some advice, Alex gave us some advice, but we started doing audio podcasts and video. And the video podcast, we've got one here from the show already. Last week's one was from New Zealand, so it has all this footage in it at fxguide.com, and that's called FX Guide TV. And then our training stuff, the professional training stuff that was the Red Dwarf stuff, for example, that's all at fxphd.com, just to do the plug.
Thank you, Mike Seymour, for stopping by. Really great to see you. Boy.
And we'll see you. Yeah, I'm going to go over.
I have to say, the last year, the Scarlet was the item of the year for me. This year, that is amazing. 5K, just unbelievable. It just feels good. But I am going to hand it back to you.
It would only be half if we split one.
Yeah, well,
yes,
I think
it'd be very nice in the studio.
Aren't you building a new studio?
Yeah, a year from now, I absolutely see us having stuff like that.
Yeah.
And one of the reasons we don't want to spend a lot of money on cameras in the new studio is because we know that all of this stuff. Why would I buy a camera now, spend money on a camera now, when in 5 years I'll be getting a camera of that quality in the studio? Of course, we won't be doing 5K streams, but
we could if we wanted to.
We could if we wanted to. Hey, thank you so much, Mike, for stopping
by. Thank you.
Really appreciate it. FXPhD at fxguide.com if you want to know more and see some of that. Boy, that stuff is just gorgeous. It makes you want to be a filmmaker, doesn't it?
Absolutely.
Unbelievable. Wow. So we're going to get ready for Windows Weekly. Is that right, Eileen? Is Paul here yet? Eileen, did Paul show up? She's getting his. She's taking it. She's Instagramming this. I don't want to interrupt her. Is
Paul here?
Is Paul here yet? Okay, so we'll keep talking.
Jibber jabbering
about. Well, I think Final Cut. We didn't really say everything. Although now I should say that you said Ted from Red will be.
I think we're hoping to have. I think we're scheduling
tomorrow.
Him for tomorrow. We're hoping to have him on tomorrow.
And what time will This Week in Media be on?
This Week in Media is going to be 2:00 this afternoon, and that'll be streaming. That'll be here.
But streaming from your.
Streaming from pixscore.com/live.
Okay.
And
I know Larry will be on it as well.
Talking about this more.
So that's when they're going to get hardcore. If you really want the hardcore, what's going on?
No. We're not going hardcore. Alex won't allow us to do that. We're simply talking about technology.
Okay. All right. Okay. What else? Let's talk some more about the Final Cut. Just for those of you who are tuning in, we're going to, as soon as Paul Thurrott gets here, we will go to, I think he just got here. Is that him? No. He's not here yet. We will go to Windows Weekly. Paul is, of course, in Vegas, not for the National Association of Broadcasters show like us. He's here for Mix, which is Microsoft's kind of web conference, so he'll have a lot to say about that. And we will go to Windows Weekly. Those of you tuning in, it is past Windows Weekly time, but we will go to that soon. But the big story, really, at NAB for a lot of us was last night at the Final Cut Super Meet, the big user group. 1,700 people there, and as Larry's blog says, the sound of 1,700 jaws dropping.
There was a lot of excitement. I think there was a certain release because I think many people were very
real concern
going into the meeting. So you can see some people were excited. A lot of people were scared that they're gonna ruin our application that we spend all our days on, right. And so I think that there was a certain energy, that there was a release, that people were excited that it hasn't become a consumer app. It hasn't been dumbed down. It's only been made better and more powerful. And I think that when people saw some of the features, and you could see that Apple had really thought it out.
And I think the open bar had a great deal to do with it.
Open bar? I had to pay for those drinks.
Eat these peanuts because you're about to travel the light speed.
Yeah, but I think
But I think Alex is right, is that there was, I mean, this is an application that people make their livings on. and you don't want to mess with something that you make your living on. And so there's a lot of concern about, is my living suddenly in jeopardy? So unlike an application where it's nice if it works and you can survive if it doesn't, this is a life or death application for a lot of people. Right. And businesses, not just the people that use it, but people that supply plugins for it, have a vested interest in making sure their plugins work, because there's an entire ecosystem that supports Final Cut.
Right.
And so there was a lot of concern, because how badly is it, how much is it changing? How much do I have to spend, not just in training, but in updating all my hardware and all of my software to get it to work? Mm-hmm. So Alex was exactly right. There was a huge stress level in that meeting last night.
Yeah, and it's going to be, it's still going to be interesting. I think that as for the high-end editors, I think it's going to be very stressful, in that process. But I think that the vast majority, the 90–95% of the users, this is going to be a big
well,
change.
And it opens up a giant market for Apple that is kind of unserved. There hasn't really been something in between.
Well, there has been, but there's been nothing with Apple did a couple of things. They announced that their market share right now, they had over 200 million, sorry, they had 2 million, I'll get the number right, 2 million registered users. Right. They have a 56% market share, and Avid and Apple are battling it around the 18 to
Avid and Adobe.
My fault, Avid and Adobe.
Yeah.
We're battling around 18% each. So they're clearly a dominant market leader as they defined the study. They worked very hard at cleaning up errors like background processing to speed up the application, taking off memory restrictions, supporting real-time processing of video, so that a lot of the stuff that drives people nuts of sitting around waiting for the computer to calculate, all that is gone. So I think they've done a good job of addressing the biggest complaints in the application.
That was always one of the things that was cool about Avid, was real-time rendering.
When it worked.
Yeah. So that's something editors do want.
Oh, well, I often say that 20% of any production, when you're working on a project, 20% is skill.
Right.
40% is knowing what's good and bad,
right.
And 40% is how many times are you going to get to see it before you have to give it up.
Right.
And so when you make it more efficient, when you make it easier to see it over and over and over again, and keep on being able to make those decisions, that is going to make a huge difference in the final quality.
Speed of iteration.
Speed of iteration is massive. Yeah.
That's one of the things that Apple did with Motion. When Motion first came out, their big
right.
play
Real
about
time.
why Motion and not After Effects is
right.
with Motion you could see it all in real time,
right.
And you could then make creative decisions without waiting for it to render, which is a clear differentiation between the other software that was out there, because Motion was written on a more modern engine.
Yeah. No, absolutely. And now you have something that's been completely rewritten and completely sits on, and I think that it's going to allow them to grow for the next decade before they have to do it again. And the current Final Cut didn't.
Yesterday we were talking about the fact that a lot of people on the Final Cut team had left or were reassigned. Who wrote this? Who is it a new team?
This has been worked on for the last couple of years.
They've been working on this for probably 3 years,
right.
And Apple will never answer that question because
right.
they don't give engineers specific credit for the show. But I will say this, I have seen the same engineers working on this version of Final Cut as I saw engineers in the past. So the key leaders of the team
are still there
and haven't changed.
Okay.
But they've brought people in. There was a huge amount of work that needed to be done just to transfer the code from the old code base to the new code base, like a conversion process.
Right.
And that's simply a man against the machine kind of thing, where
right.
you bring in a bunch of part-timers, they fix the code so it's converted,
right.
and they can go off and do other stuff.
Right.
A lot of the transitions that we saw were people assigned for the conversion, but not necessarily the creation of the new applications.
So there's no leader, there's no guy.
Oh, no, that's totally not true. We saw Randy Ublos, which is the key
He's
chief
the guy who
architect.
did the demo.
He did the demo. He's the chief architect. So I was sitting next to the VP of engineering for Apple, and I asked him, is he in engineering? They said all architects are in engineering.
Right.
And we saw Steve, who is also the architect for Final Cut Pro. So Ublos is looking at all the video applications, and Steve, whose last name I'm blanking on, did the presentation for Final Cut. So it's absolutely got team leads who are controlling the destiny of the show.
Well, and Randy has been in this
since the beginning.
He was in the Premiere team, I believe,
yes.
And then he was in the original Final Cut team, and then he moved to revolutionize what they were doing with iMovie, and now he's been part of that entire thought process.
And I know some of the engineers that are working within the process of building the application, and they've been there for 5-10 years. So it is not as though it's a complete revolving door. They've had consistency of development. But you think about it, when you want to have a group of people come to a consensus on how a new interface looks, it's going to take a while to get everybody to agree, or to agree that they're going to disagree, but they're going to move in this direction. Because this is like I've got a blank piece of paper. How you want to define this?
I mean, and this has been the big jump in an editing interface for 20 years.
That would say, EMC started it, and then Avid came in and made it popular. And
but then we haven't really had anything new. I mean, it's all been pretty much the same after that. I mean, it's been 2 windows, and you kind of go back and forth, and you have some tracks, and you have. I mean, it really hasn't changed at all, in my opinion. And this is the first time we've really seen. Okay, we're going to throw that out, take the parts that we like, and put them all back in.
It makes sense. It really makes sense.
And if you think about it, the only company that can do it is Apple.
Yeah, the only company with the guts to do it, because that is a bold thing to do, is to potentially piss off your entire user base by making such a massive change. By the way, it's using the GPU, which is also for the real-time rendering, which is also significant. We have such fast processors now in the graphics card.
You now have $500 cards that have like 2 gigabytes of video RAM. It's
right. So that makes a lot of sense. You've got multi-core processors. You've got intensely powerful GPUs. And this redesign also takes advantage of the advances hardware has made in the last 4 years.
Absolutely.
And I have to admit that Final Cut was really starting to feel like a pig. To me. I mean, it was like, it was good, but it was slow, and it was,
it's interesting.
Constantly up against it. And I'm like, okay, I can get it done. I'm not going to switch
up until I saw the new version, which was in February. I thought, Final Cut, I can get used to it. It looks really good. Now I look at the old version, I look at the new version, I say, boy, how yesterday the old version was. Yeah. It's just amazing how dated it suddenly feels.
Apple is so good at that. It's like, I loved my iPhone 3 until the iPhone 4 came out, and now I look at the iPhone, I have my iPhone 3 like sitting around streaming at my house or whatever, and I look at it like, what a quaint little device, But it was perfect until the day the iPhone 4 came out.
We're talking to Larry Jordan and Alex Lindsay about the new Final Cut Pro 10. We now can say it is officially 10, as Larry told me it was.
You are so good at that. So good.
And Windows Weekly will begin in just a bit. Paul Thurrott is in a cab. He's on his way. Before we get to that, though, I do want to thank our friends at Squarespace. It's very expensive to come here and do this show. We bring a large staff here, a big booth. We got a lot of setup going on. And if it weren't for our sponsors, we wouldn't be able to do it. So a tip of the hat to Squarespace, a great company with great guys who really have supported TWiT for the last couple of years. If you are looking for a place to put your next website, or perhaps you have family and friends and you want to get them online, why don't you give it a try at squarespace.com/TWiT. Click that big try it free button. You get the full Squarespace for 14 days. You don't need a credit card or anything. Just think of a name for your site, give it a password, and you're going. You have all those great designer templates, 60+ styles to start with. But then with sliders, drag and drop, point and click, you can modify it to look exactly as you want it. You don't need to know CSS or JavaScript or even HTML to do it. If you know all of those technologies, you can absolutely use them. So with CSS, you can make the site look like anything, including your existing site. And of course, they've got these great importers and exporters for all the major blog APIs, movable type, WordPress, TypePad, and Blogger. So it's very easy to create a site. I bet you, within the next half hour, you could go there, create a site, import everything, including all your images, all the links will work, all the comments will be imported, and really see what that new Squarespace site would look like. Always secure because the updates are handled by Squarespace, and a great server as well. We don't kind of downplay that. It's the hosting plus the software, but frankly, it's the best serving out there. They use very sophisticated Java-based virtual servers to make sure that there's always enough bandwidth.
That's what kept me from doing my own blog for a long time. I was like, I don't want to deal with the installation on the server.
Exactly.
I don't want to deal with the server at all. And the fact that I could just go up to Squarespace and design it and lay it all out and have a couple droplets and everything else. Way to go.
Times have come, I have to say, for a long time I thought, well, I have to do it all myself. I have to learn Linux and Apache and MySQL. I have to learn PHP. I have to use PHP MyAdmin. I have to get good at all of that stuff because that's what it means to have a website. I think, fortunately, those times are long gone, and now really what it means to have a website is to create great content and for the technology to get out of the way, and that's what Squarespace does. It gets out of your way and gives you what you want. Try it free for 14 days right now, squarespace.com/TWiT. If you decide to buy it, it's as low as $12 a month, and for family or friends, for people, we all have family and friends who think, oh, no, I have a web page, I have Facebook. Tell them, please, that you don't have a page unless you have a page. Get your own webpage at squarespace.com/TWiT. Scott, You're taking off for us?
I got to go for now. I got an interview that's about a half an hour late, but that's all right.
Oh, I'm so sorry.
Oh, no, I'm happy.
It was worth it for that red, wasn't it?
Oh, man, that red was so
oh, my
cool.
God, that was incredible.
Oh, my God. No, it was definitely worth it to stay and learn more about that.
To see the future of filmmaking.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Just a revolution. You know, so for so long, filmmakers deprecated digital filmmaking. Oh, that's, you know, we got to shoot on film.
10 years ago, we were trying to figure out how to take DV and up-res it
so it looked decent.
So that it looked okay on a big screen.
Right,
and now we have cameras that are a fraction of the price that we can.
I've been a big proponent of digital cinema since it began, both in terms of capture and in terms of projection.
But now when you have a digital all through the chain.
Oh, man. And with the high dynamic range.
I want to go to an IMAX theater and see some of this 5K video.
Man, that's going to look awesome.
Mind-boggling. That's, to me, forget 3D. I want.
They've got a, by the way, at the red booth. They have a 4K projection.
I've got to go over there.
Oh, well, I definitely have to go check that out as well.
Well, you go right now because we're going to let you go.
Yeah, absolutely.
Paul Thurrott's here. We're going to get ready for Windows Weekly.
Now, actually, I'm going to actually be here tomorrow.
You're
for a
coming
little
back?
bit. I am coming back tomorrow. I've got a guest from SesMe.
Says who?
Says me. Which is a company that aggregates over-the-air and streaming and cable all into one package. Very interesting technology and something that I had never heard of before. So I'm looking forward to talking with him at about 10:30 tomorrow morning.
Fantastic. So we will continue our coverage tomorrow. I'll be gone, but we will continue our coverage tomorrow.
I'm here till the bitter end.
The bitter end. We will continue through the rest of the day. This Week in Google will take us back to the studio 1 o'clock right after Windows Weekly. But I'm going to let Larry, I'm going to let you go. Thank you for being here.
Leo, it's been a delight. Thank you for the invitation. And Alex, it's wonderful talking about all this wonderful stuff. I'm going to see you this afternoon on This Week in Media as well.
Yep. Yeah. And Larry's blog, once again, is larryjordan.biz.
.biz/blog.
And he has a review and first thoughts on the sound of 1,700 jaws dropping right there, including screenshots, beautiful big screenshots, so you can see what it looks like. LarryJordan.biz/blog.
And Leo, thank you again.
And Larry does podcasts and training and all sorts of stuff.
Digital Production Buzz is going to be doing what you're doing, going into the kind of depth that Alex and I love talking about, getting really into the geek. It's going to be great.
Deep. Thank you, Larry.
Deep into the
deep into the geek.
Deep into the deep.
And we're going to let you go, too.
I'm out of here. I'm going to be back again for
This Week in Media.
This Week in Media at 2 o'clock on pixelcore.com/live. And then I'm back here tomorrow morning. And well, also after Twin, we're going to do a live. We're going to be shooting some of our actual episodes, and so people get to see behind the scenes of us actually shooting.
That's great.
It's not the walkabout; it's us actually doing the episodes, and then and that'll go until about 6, and then I'm going to go over to Bob Heil's.
The party. We're streaming the party tonight.
I'll be there
so
too.
I'm gonna go over. I don't think we're going to be streaming. I think we'll just
let us stream it.
Yeah, we're going to let you stream that, and then.
But I may let you host our stream because I have to get a plane at 8:20, so I'm going to get over there around 6.
I'll be there too. So
and you and Scott
we can be over there
take over with
the
drunks.
And then tomorrow morning I'll be back here. 9 to 10:30,
Fantastic.
and we'll be talking hopefully with Ted. I think we're going to try to get him over here in the morning. We'll talk about some of the newer technologies, the Scarlet, so on and so forth.
So if you like that red stuff, come back.
Yeah, so it should be a lot of fun.
Sounds great.
Thank you, guys. We really appreciate it. We're having a lot of fun. We're going to get Paul Thurrott in here and get ready for Windows Weekly. We are live in Vegas at the NAB Show, the National Association of Broadcasters Show. We thank the folks at NAB for inviting us and making us their official internet streaming partner here, and so we've been really getting some great access to good people and had a lot of fun. Just fantastic. I do want to say some thank yous if you don't mind. First of all, for this incredible Sky booth that we've set up. Roger Ambrose did the design. Lin Fu and Eileen Rivera implemented it all, and of course Brent Bai did the amazing lighting and camera. Brent and his partner Hilton Goring are doing our camera work today. We don't usually have camera operators. It's nice to have camera operators. There's the booth. Isn't that spectacular? Doesn't that look fantastic? With the glowing lights and all of that. Wow. I have to say, well done to Brent Bai and Roger Ambrose. Roger is, of course, our creative director and the guy doing our new studio design. So if you like what that looks like, well, you see the new studio. Also, thanks to Eileen Rivera, who's our producer here on the site. She's doing such a great job. Burke McQuinn and Liz Romero, who drove the van and helped set up. And there's a lot of work that gets done here behind the scenes that makes this possible. We couldn't do it without them. Alex Gumpel, who's been switching the whole time. I don't know how you're still doing it, Alex. I don't know how you're not burnt out by all of that. But he's been using that new TriCaster 850. Boy, we're really happy with that. The HD 850 is an amazing device. We don't use it yet in our studio, but it is slated for our new studio. So these great looking lower thirds, this is just the beginning. There's motion graphics, there's audio and video in the lower thirds. They just, TriCaster just showed me, I was at the out last night with the New Tech folks, because we did a panel called Broadcast Minds. By the way, that's on our TWiT specials feed if you want to see it, twit.tv/specials with Adam Carolla and others. But I was talking to Andrew Cross and the others at New Tech, and what they're doing now with the new TriCaster HD 850 Extreme Edition, which I'm really hoping we can get, is incredible. For instance, they handle up to 8 cameras. So this is what a switcher does, is it gives you all the cameras and you switch from one to the other. That's what Alex is doing. He's pressing the buttons. We've got that great new control surface that gives you all these features. The new Extreme version records all the cameras isolated all the time. So normally what we do is we take the show and we've chopped it up as we're shooting it, and that's what you get is we're editing on the fly as we go. But now if there's an error, which happens a little bit, especially when I'm switching, or if there's something we missed, we can go back and we will have a recording of the output of every single camera available to us. A whole lot of new features, including incredible graphics, alpha channels, and all sorts of stuff that we can do. We never use a lot of the features of the TriCaster. They have green screen capability that we don't use very often because I like real sets. But this thing is just a power horse, a workhorse, and we're really happy to have it. They lent it to us for our broadcast this week. So thank you. Tip of the hat to New Tech. Also to LiveView. If you're watching us now, you're watching via LiveView. We're actually streaming back. Our uplink to the studio today is a LiveView over the 3G network. That's how good it is. When we go out in the field with a LiveView backpack, we are wireless. We're able to cover everything that's going on tonight. When we're at the Bob Heil party, you'll be watching via LiveView. It's an amazing product, so we thank you, LiveView, for lending us. Actually, I think we paid for that, but we still thank you for making that possible. Who else should I thank? I think I got everybody. Thank you to our sponsors as well, Citrix, Netflix, and Squarespace, Hover.com, all the folks who've made it possible for us to be out here, because it's a big undertaking that we couldn't do without help. And of course, all of you at home watching, and I'm watching the chat room, and we really appreciate it. We really appreciate it.